There will first be a pretest for my class, which will be 10 minutes long. I'll pass it out and then I will pick it up after 10 minutes. Slides 1 through 5 will be lecture material and will last for 20 minutes. Okay class, we are now on week 2 in the Connecting to Your Child program. The topic this week is communication. Here are the objectives for today's lesson. At the end of the day, you will be able to take the lecture material and activities with you in your mind and on handouts. You will know how to use gestures, body language, and tone of voice properly as relating to your child. Starting this week, I want you all to keep a personal reflective journal, and as you work with your child to heighten your class experience, I want to know at the end of the week, the beginning of next week, how your journal is turning out. You don't have to share personal details, but I want to know if it is benefiting you in your experience. So, how do your children sometimes use gestures and words? I would give them a minute to answer. I would let them answer and relay information back to them. They may have said some of the things that are on this slide. Their children may not be able to express themselves well. Your children may not be able to understand gestures, facial expressions, or tone of voice. They may say odd things from time to time. For example, they may repeat your words back to you time and time again. They may use odd phrases and odd choices of words. Sometimes they may use many words when only one would work. They may make up their own words. They may not use their hands correctly to make gestures as they speak. And they may not be able to understand difficult orders. How our children differentiate suggestions versus instructions. All children in the autism spectrum should be expected to do daily living tasks that they are capable of doing. Instructions. They each need instructions to follow. Day-to-day activities they're used to doing, such as making their bed or being on time for the school bus or having good table manners maybe. That is structured. It's good to keep them structured, and they will most likely see their structured day-to-day tasks and activities as being more instructions than suggestions. Having good table manners would be an example that I've mentioned. And for example, some children with autism may not understand no. They just may not understand no. And if that is a problem, then they need to know. They need to understand why you are telling them no. And if they are eating, say, mashed potatoes at the table with their fingers, and they're not using their fork, and if you say no, and then they keep on continuing, they may not be doing that just because they want to. They may really not understand what you're trying to say because they don't understand why it is wrong. So instead of just saying no, you could say, no, we don't use our fingers in our mashed potatoes. Please use your fork. And show them how you are using your fork and you're not using your fingers. So instead of saying no, you could say no, please use your fork. And suggestions, they differ from instructions to them. Suggestions should be what is not a consistent everyday activity. So if you use words or sentences that start out with words such as maybe or do you want to or perhaps, then they should understand that that is a suggestion. And if we want our children to know that it is not a suggestion, we should avoid using these phrases at the beginning of our sentences. Okay, so ever since I mentioned reflection journal, you guys may have an idea of what that is, but I want to give you an example of what you can include for your benefit in your reflective journal. Here is an example of a behavior log, and you can keep one at home, or you can get one like this, because I have handouts, and you can manipulate it however you want and give it to your teacher, or give it to your child's teacher, or a therapist if he or she goes to a therapist, and that therapist can, or the teacher, or you, or all of them if you want, can keep a behavior log. And if you notice, there's behavior codes at the bottom, and some of them are, I need to follow directions, I need to behave in the hallway. Obviously, I need to behave in the hallway would only apply at school, like maybe with the teacher, but I need to follow directions could be at home or at school or with the therapist or any combination. So you can use these behavior codes in any way you want to keep up with your child's progress in communication. So keeping a reflective journal shouldn't be difficult. You can start tonight or tomorrow. Like I said, if they go to school, you could see if the teacher would fill out a behavior log for you, and you could add this to your journal, and you could add comments at the bottom or on a different page and keep it all together. I think it would be a good activity to benefit you and your child in communication. Okay, gestures and body language. Here we are going to split into groups of 2. One person is going to act as the child, the other as the parent. They're both going to read over the handout and the skit and perform the given skit. The skit includes the wrong approach followed by the correct approach. They have 10 minutes to do this. So I wait for 10 minutes while they do this and answer their questions throughout if they have questions. At the end of 10 minutes, we'll go over what worked and what didn't work. They found that simple gestures incorporated with words worked, and complicated gestures associated with words mixed matched didn't work. What I mean by this is simple gestures such as a head nod up and down with the remark yes provided a better response than when the parent head nod up and down was accompanied by a statement such as I think so, but I'm not sure. This could cause severe confusion for the child. Okay, tone practice would be the next activity that we do. Each person is going to split into groups of 2. Once again, one acts as the child, one acts as the parent. Each person is going to read over the handout and skit and perform a given tone skit. The skit includes the wrong approach, as it did in the last one, and followed by the correct approach. Now this one is a shorter handout, shorter skit, because it is tone practice, and while it is important, I only am going to allow 5 minutes for this activity. They find out that the harsh tone in the beginning of the skit didn't work, and a calm tone with no connection didn't work, but a calm tone with a connection worked. And what I mean by connection is getting on the child's level, making sure that you look maybe in the eyes of the child and make sure that you or the child is not distracted while you are talking with them. So after 5 minutes, this activity will be finished. At the end of the session, the students are given a 10-minute post-test, which concludes their hour class. The multiple intelligences used were verbal linguistic, body kinesthetic, musical rhythmic, interpersonal, and interpersonal. And their objectives are fulfilled further on the post-test. Their pre-test and their post-test are exactly alike, but the post-test, I expect to see more correct answers on the post-test than the pre-test from what we learned in this course. They will be able to list ways to connect with their child with their tone, with their gestures, with their body language, what all we went over today, what we learned during the group activities, and so forth. Here are my references.